Ntobela. I am Tapelo Tiamo Leslie Moloto, and I would like to take this moment to welcome you to Tiamo Blend. Okay, now today we're looking at getting into tech with or without a degree. One of the key things that we're really looking into with this video is that one of the key things I wished someone has taught me while I was in matric, one of the key advices someone could have shared with me while I was still starting out and I'm still in matric. These are the key things that I wish I had learned from a young age. And these are the key things I wish that everyone gets to share with anyone out there. Someone who's in matric or someone who's looking for a career change. Because one of the key things I'll be going into is the two pathways and importantly, how to get into tech nowadays. Because it's fastly growing, but that's what we're getting into. Let's get it. All right. Firstly, getting into tech, we all know most of the time we grew up thinking you gotta get it by having a degree or some type of diploma. But now we have noticed that some instances you find someone saying, I'm a self-taught in developer, I'm a self-taught what. Self-taught, hey, these guys, hey, my baby. We get it. Anyway, one of the key things that we got to look at is that we know there's a huge number of different roles within the industry, like software engineering, data engineering, cloud computing, computer engineering, data science, what do they call it, the kids nowadays? Network and hardware engineering, cloud networking. These things are growing daily. Internet of Things, IoT, my brother. Okay, now there are actually two pathways to get into it. I know the two routes. I know one route which I took, and I've met a few people who took the other route. Well, the first route is the old school route, whereby after matric you go straight into university or a technical college, you know, state line, old school. And the other one, after matric, you start applying for different boot camps and start doing things as self-learning. Those are the two routes. Well, now, the information we're going to be looking at here, firstly, I'm going to go with the first route, the old school way. These are the key things I wished I've learned when I was young, despite what I knew. Okay, firstly, your key ideal subjects to go in. You're in grade 10. You do want to do computer engineering at some point in your life, or you want to be a cybersecurity analyst, data scientist, you name it. Well, the key subjects that you have to make sure that you do from grade 10 all the way to matric, it's mathematics and science. Mathematics, I didn't say mathematics, math lit, I said mathematics, or as the children say, pure maths and that, pure maths and me. Wagwa. And when I say science, I'm talking about your physical science. Most importantly, when I say science, physical science, it's important because you might find out, for instances, if your school is offering CAT or IT subjects, you might take your mathematics, physical science, your IT, and then you say, I want to add some business, you take business. It makes sense because you could do it still. Or if you don't want to do life science, you do business. If you don't want to do business, you want to do economics. But your key things, it's mathematics, physical science, computer, application technology. If your school is offering it, I suggest to take it. Or if it's offering IT, I suggest to take it. But it wouldn't make sense if you took both. So it's best if you took mathematics, physical science, life science, CAT or Joe. If there's no CAT, IT. If there's no IT, geography. If you are not into geography, there's accounting. If you are not into accounting, there's economics. Some schools allow you to take up to 10. I know, because some people don't want to limit themselves to only having 7 subjects when they're in grade 10, 11, 12. They want to do 10. If you want to go for it, you can do it, but that's not for me. Okay, now, one other key thing you gotta look at now is that there's certain AP scores you have to meet within different institutions. When I say different institutions, I'm talking about universities. You see? Because most of the time, I know everyone then they think about after life after matric. If it's not self applying for learnerships, most of the time it's university. Yeah, that's true. There are different AP scores you have to meet, certain different requirements. And one key thing you have to note is that you're not the only one having to meet them. There are people all over walks of life here in SA also applying. So one key thing is that to get in to that faculty or that department which is offering you that course you want, you gotta do note one key thing is that you're not the only one applying. So you might find out that you do meet them, but someone is even went an extra mile and having more marks or more percentages. So they will take them first because space is limited. As they say, they always take top of the bunch, cream de la cream, the cherry on top. They always do that. That's a fact. And one thing you also gotta note is that as much as you are applying as matriculants applying, is that there are also people within university from different courses who are also switching courses or majors that are also taking up space too. You're not the only one. So let's get into it. I'm going to give off a few examples. For instance, the University of the Northwest, NWU, the AP score for applying for computer engineering to be in the computer engineering course is that you should have an AP score of 34 with 70 in mathematics. You heard me, mathematics 70%. Physical science, as you guys say, physics, the 170 with a 2. And a 60 in your home language. You heard. Say AP score of 34. If your AP score is 34, but you're having a 16 maths, but a 70 in physical science, it's a no-no. Unless they take you. I don't know. But that's the minimum requirement. Because when it's written down like that on the brochures, that's what they look at always. Well, one other key thing I also got to notice is that if you're not going for, let's say, computer engineering at NWU, you want to go for computer science in IT at not University of the Free State, is that their AP score is starting at 32 or 34. Let me just double check, guy. Okay, there it is. Their AP score is 32 with a 50 in English, a 60 in mathematics, and a 60 is in physical science. Okay, now you got it. You know it. You see, these institutions actually differ. These scores and points differ by different institutions. Ideally, it's up to you where you want to go. But at the same time, you gotta meet those requirements. Okay. And then you could also apply for University of Technologies like TUT, VUT, CUT. You could also apply for there. Like for instance, I know with TUT you need to have an AP score of 27, 15 maths, 15 physics, physical science, and also in English. Like it's there. Always make sure you compare your different brochures. But I always say it's best to aim for the stars. Shoot for the stars, aim for the moon, not the sun. The moon. Okay. Those are the key things you gotta load into. And most importantly, we all know when you go for university, these things get to be expensive. Every year causes an increase prices. I know everyone is always thinking on only applying for NSFAS, but there are other university bursaries you could apply for. You heard me. There are always bursaries you could apply for. It's ideal to always check uh these bursary websites. Like for instance, your SETAs. A key thing I like about SETA is that the SETAs are actually 21 SETAs in South Africa, which are responsible for creating internships, learnerships, and bursaries, which their aim is to helping out the young people of South Africa. Every industry and occupation in South Africa is covered by one of these 21 SETAs. It is very vital and important that you, as a young individual, to check them out. Gonna put a link there, give you a list of the list. The link is gonna take you to a website where it's gonna give you a different list of different SETAs. Then you can check them out. One other keynote thing is that you gotta know is the SETAs also offer bursaries because you cannot just focus on only applying for NSFAS. They also gotta apply for other bursaries. Don't focus on one thing, like I said. When you apply for these different institutions, apply for everything. For every university. Sorry, not everything, because some universities you are only limited to two applications. You see? And one more thing is that always look at what you'll be majoring in. Like at the University of the Free State, you get to major in maths, chemistry, physics, business, data science, and mathematics. Yeah, I said again. You see? And just know in some institutions, maths is going to be there all the way up until your final year. Your maths and stats, like the UL. I met a few people who graduated it and they told me they did math. They had to choose between maths and stats. So they'd say you do it from your first year all the way through your final year. You see? Whereas I took the management route, did maths for 1 year, and then boom, I did stats for another year. And business all the way. Don't worry, there's no essays. If you're taking that computer science or IT and management, there's no essays. That's what I like. Okay, now, fine. You're taking this route. It sounds easy, but the reality is when you get to varsity, you gotta be dedicated, you gotta put in the work. Because these courses, the reality is there are not gonna be a lot of you that may be taken in because of space and sometimes meeting those requirements there. But the reality is they are always open for space. I don't know how, but for now they are always open for space. And once you are in, make sure you push. Don't play around. Use those university faculties, equipment. Use them to help you all the way. Now, another thing is that while you're in the university space, is that despite what you teach you at school or your lectures teach you, also do research, man. Understand what's happening. Like listen to Tiamo Blend. Never know. You might hear something new, but what's needed. Which value you will learn something new. Another route is the bootcamp slash self-taught route. Okay, now this route, I know it's growing nowadays. It's growing, it's growing, it's growing, it's growing. It's one of the key routes I wish I had also learned. But the reality is with this technique, with this pathway, with this decision is that it needs you to be determined, disciplined, dedicated, passionate, and motivated because you need to make sure when you do your research in terms of what's needed, what is the key things you go to, the institutions, the different boot camps, the libraries for the different books you need. What books are you really learning out? You gotta make sure you understand what you're doing here. And one thing I also notice is that with the self-taught route is that it's not like the university route because in university, you're gonna get access to computer labs. You see, whereas with this route, you have to have your own personal computer or laptop. And we know when it comes to coding, you need to install different softwares or IDEs for you to be able to start doing the work. So this one, yeah, might pinch your pocket, but might as much as the university route, but it needs you to be sure what you're doing. It will also pinch your pocket like the university route. Because we know in a university route, if we don't get the bursary or NSFAS, it's gonna be hard because of those fees also expensive. Okay, now I'm gonna list the different boot camps you could go for. Now, one of the downsides is that not all these boot camps are in every part of the provinces, and not all of them are remote. Okay. Now, for instance, number one, Umuzi. Umuzi is fully remote. You need your internet access, date, and a good connectivity. You're good to go. They give you a laptop. And it's like a learnership when I like get paid, nigga. It's not for you to have fun, but for you to get data, something to eat while you're pushing in the work, you know? So you not to have excuses. Number two, within code. This one you also get some, it's a learnership. This one is for 2 years, you get something now, yeah. But as much as you get something with them, they're not fully remote. You have to attend to the different campuses which are nearby. You have to attend because it's peer learning. You have to work with a peer. That's one of the key things I know. Next one is CodeSpace. Offers various short-term courses, intensive coding courses with a focus on practical skills development. Now, like these different boot camps, all of them, I'm gonna tell you this. You don't just apply and you're in. It doesn't work like that because with them, they don't just look at your metric. They also want someone who's dedicated, someone who's passionate, who's willing to put in the work, who's not just looking for a quick buck. I bereke bjalo. Re bereke bjalo rra. Wa ntshwara? Okay, now one other few thing I almost forgot to say is that, especially if you're in university or you are in a boot camp or whatever you're doing at that point, trying to get into this industry, especially if you're in university doing your final year or technical in college doing your final year or while doing your boot camp, is that I suggest you start putting yourself out there at that point because you don't wait to get that certification. You start putting it there on your resume that yes, you know Cisco. Yes, you know AWS. If they ask you get in, and sometimes at that point it helps you because if you get into an interview or something, you can actually say, no, I just wrote my exam yesterday. I passed it. Or I'm going through the classes for that certification. If I don't write it, but just know I know it. You see, you always have to apply. You don't wait to get that degree. You don't wait for you to be told, now here's the degree. You apply. If you're doing your final year, you start applying. Some people even know that certain companies do offer vacation work. That's one of the things I knew. Saw while searching. Like for instance, PwC does actually provide people with vacation work. So you gotta always apply, always search. You gotta go search. Even some consultancy firms, you gotta search. They are literally looking. They're looking, and it's not gonna be easy because not only you applying. There's someone who's been applying for 2 years. It's like me and always applying. There's always gonna be something like that. So you always gotta apply. You're doing your final year. Start structuring that CV. The moment you start structuring your CV, put it out there. You don't know what's gonna happen. Someone might like it and say, hey man, I can offer you a job. And can say, no, I'm doing my final year now. That's my situation. And they say, okay, let's see how we can work around this. So you always gotta apply. You don't wait. You start applying now. You start doing it now. You have your skills ready. You have everything ready. Start applying now. Put it out there. It's not a problem. Because it gets tedious and you get tired. You get tired at some point. I know it's a reality. You get tired. You even get frustrated sometimes. Sometimes even the interview processes are the ones that even tear you down because when you're applying for jobs, they always ask you things like, okay, you are invited for a test. You get in a test is literally data structures. And we all know some of us hate that thing. But it's always one of the key things that shows that how one knows a certain language or knows how to work with problem solving. That's what the key thing of data structures. It teaches you how to be a problem solver and always think outside the box. You see, you gotta keep applying. Be ready. Always. Even if it's a simple thing that you see that you applied for, do it. As they say, Spanish civita spa never fit. Bravo. And then sometimes you can even help out people. Someone says, I want someone to help me on this and this. Can talk to them, okay, I can do it for you, but it might cost you. They complain, you're like, dude, you saw the economy, you saw how much bread is. Aibo. I might be doing something that's simple. Whereas you explain it to me, but yet you don't want to pay me. You came to me. You see, you gotta always do that. It's not gonna be easy. So you also gotta think outside the box for yourself. That's one thing we all have to do. I also had to learn that the hard way. At some point, you gotta tell someone, I can't keep doing these things for you for free. I gotta put food on the table, man. You get it? That's the reality. That's how it is. You gotta give me something in return. So gotta keep applying and always putting ourselves out there. Start early, the better. It's one of the key things you gotta do to get in the industry these times. You see, that's how it is, man. And always remember, if it's not written down, it's a high chance it's fake. If you cannot find out where this company is, what do they do? Always say it might be fake. Always do your research whether you're going to the right place for an interview or what's going on. Because most of the time you might be called in for an interview and find out it's not even what you applied for. You gotta literally understand what this whole thing is about. You don't want to avoid such things. And if you are invited for an online interview, prepare as if it's going to be a physical one, even if it means looking the part. It might boost you at some point. So that's one of the things I'd always say. On the side note, you see. So it's one of the key things everyone gotta do. And as I say, always keep learning. Like I used to think you don't stop learning at this route, but the reality is you gotta always keep learning. They always add something new. Now you gotta keep up. In the technology space or in the tech space, you gotta keep up because some days you are solving something for a different thing or for a different industry. So you always gotta adapt. Always be willing to adapt, get out of your comfort zone. You might be an introvert, but some days gotta get out of that comfort zone, speak to people, get out and be back in your zone. That's how it is. Hey, that's a quick side note. Okay, now let's say you didn't get through these various boot camps. So now what would be your alternative? Maybe you would, let's say you're willing to pay for different courses. And then you're just looking for things which are relative to the industry. One of the platforms you could go for if you're looking to take the network and hardware route. Because one of the key things that people don't know is that when you learn networking and hardware, it's one of the key foundations that can lead you to be a network engineer, even a software engineer at some point, or as not a lot of people don't know, but network engineering also is kind of key to being a ethical hacker. You see, so you could check out Village Tech. Village Tech literally is an institution whereby it teach or provides one of these few certifications in terms of a career path you would like to take. They've got the obvious one we all know, Microsoft Office certifications. But let's say you're not looking for the obvious thing, like when you know Office, in your mind, it's relative to being computer literacy. So you would want to do something like CompTIA Security Plus. It's one of the key things that some companies actually look for when hiring network engineers. CompTIA Network Plus, CompTIA A Plus Network. Yeah, CompTIA A Plus. Believe it or not, CompTIA Network Plus and CompTIA A Plus. I actually did a few of these courses in varsity, but never got certified on them. But these ones, they don't just teach you the course, but you literally get certified. And they got Cisco. And one thing I love about Cisco is that Cisco is used almost anywhere in the world because it's a dinosaur. And you got to know this is that when you did these certifications, you're not limited to only working here in South Africa. If you get an opportunity to apply out there, anywhere in the world, you can take it. They're even offering things like IT support and your junior computer programmer and systems developer. So you could check them out. Village Tech. The link is there. Well, speaking about certifications, is that another platform which also does provide such. It could be you could go for is ALX. It also offers different courses like cloud and Salesforce. Salesforce is the one in which focuses on not just ERP, but the main key focus of Salesforce is CRM, customer relationship management. And on ALX, you can also get back end development and front end development. Just that the few things I have mentioned about Village Tech and ALX is that some of these you have to pay for them. But I've heard people say you can actually get bursaries from the people who went through this route. Okay. Now, let's say you're not feeling like paying or you don't have enough or you're a bit skeptical, but you have the equipment, you have the necessary needs. You could go fully self-taught and go through various online platforms like Data Camp, where they specialize in teaching people how to be data people, data specialists. And you could go through Code Academy. It's where they also teach, literally as in the word, coding. And I love what these cloud platforms are doing now, like your Microsoft, your Google, and your AWS are doing. Is that when you can go on their sites, is that nowadays they literally teach you. They literally have different courses that teach you everything. Like Microsoft Learn gives out courses on almost everything Microsoft related. Just that if you want to be certified, you have to pay. But you could learn everything from them on how cloud works and the different aspects to it. Even AWS. Literally, I went through their site and got to know the basics of AWS and know how it works. And I might prepare for my exam. Okay, why not? Why not? Well, one key thing I've gone to learn is that in this field, like any field, you gotta always network. Networking is very important, whether you're in boot camps, whether you're doing self-taught route or you are in university, always be willing to do networking. Whether you're in a university of technology, technical college, or you are at home, always network. Join groups, have a networking hub of your own. Create something, create groups, let people know what you're doing. Try to get others on board sometimes. You're in university. Try to know people within your class. As much as people always think, not think, most of the time, people when they come off from university and come into varsity, when they're coming off from high school, I meant, and coming to university or varsity, they have this mindset that they have to be the best, they have to top everything. It doesn't really work like that. University is one of the key things that teaches you how to work within society because it's not just about you passing, it's about everyone passing. If you communicate with your classmates, know the people within your class, that thing helps. You don't know whose sister is working where, whose brother owns a company, who's what. You never know whose family is well off or something. Because everyone is coming from different walks of life. So it's one of the key things you have to do. Just network, get to know people. The reality is that you have to make friends and connections. And you will tend to notice that friends and connections are not really the same. Friends are people you can say these are your brothers or these are people you're close to. That's one of the key things. I always say key. Hey, guys, don't be surprised that when you deal with a lot of databases, you always have to remember keys, why. You see? So yeah, the thing is you have to make friends and connections. You see? Because some of the things we have to learn is that your friends can be people who know few things whereas you're connected to someone who knows other things. So you'll tend to notice that a friend and a connection might not be the same, but it's very vital that you have both friends and connections. You see, with them, I'm saying network, create connection. A connection doesn't mean we are friends. It means I can come to you for something. In return, one day you might come to me for something. That's how it is as a trade off. This case would be a trade of knowledge, a trade of network, a trade of something. Hey, that's one of the key things I like. You see, wherever you are, just try to talk to people. Even on LinkedIn, connect. Sometimes speak to the people you're connecting to. It's not a bad thing because you also want to get employed or you also want to be known that you're in the industry doing, offering certain type of skills. Because the reality is some of us got to know different job posts through the people we knew. Find out someone just reposted something and said, hey man, how about you apply for this since you did this course? That's one of the key things that helps. Just try to, even if you say an introvert, there's no way you would tell me you started the university or you started off in a boot camp from start to finish without talking to anyone. I highly doubt. At some point, you had to speak to someone. Just try to speak to people or help out people. If someone is saying, help me out with this assignment, cool. At that point, now you would nigga something. Nigga, nja. You get it? It's one of the key things I always say. It's always network. Try to know everyone. If you're in a bootcamp, try to know the people within that course you're in. You don't know who's gonna be told, hey man, do you know 2, 3 people that can hop on this project with? You can see? Always network. Try to speak to people. If someone you know is employed, ask them how they got in. Things like that. They might get offended, some of them, but some of them would know why you are asking. Ask them. Hey man, what's anyway? How'd you get in? Name me, how did you do it? What's the application process? Help me out. And then let me prepare myself so that I can know what's happening. See, help each other, man. It's not a competition. If you're always competing, it's going to be pointless, eh? And one other key thing is always partake in hackathons. For instance, the MTN App Academy hackathon. It's one of the key hackathons that always I know that take on every year. It always occurs. You could partake in it. It's a cool thing. It allows you to meet different individuals, and at the same time, you get a certification for completing it. You could put it there on your CV and look shiny. Yeah. Okay, cool. You participated. You have your network community and all that, but how do you show off your skills too? Because sometimes, as much as someone might have all this network, you gotta also find ways of showing it off. Key things I always say is have a project portfolio. Always have that. Always have your portfolio of projects. Because it allows one to see, or as they say, it allows you to show off your work. Whether you did a few things, let it be there. You could create a website whereby you're just uploading different projects you did and the feedback you gotten from people. Or you could create a GitHub account whereby you're uploading different projects and then you could put it there on your resume or on your LinkedIn somehow, because it's very important to show off your skills and your projects. It's one of the key things because sometimes you get asked that I can see you good at C sharp or you're good at SQL. What have you done with it? So I'd always say, you can just hop on my GitHub and check it out. And they'd say, oh, okay, could you walk us through what was happening? Because one of the key things is always have a portfolio of things that you have done. It's key things that allows you to show off. And when I say a portfolio of projects, is that your project should be specific to what they are doing. It should not just be just another project. It should be something that caters or solves a problem. Sometimes you could, if you're a good salesperson, it could be a simple project, but the way you're selling it to the next individual, to them, it's fascinating. That's why it's very key. If you are into data scientists or data scientists, they say you could do a project that aims at covering aspects of data science. If you're a software developer or you want to be one, you want to get in that space, You could create some sort of application or system that focuses on that. You see, always look at the challenges you're trying to solve through that project. Because sometimes people look at that project and be like, wow, you're able to think outside the box. You're able to look at what's happening around you. You're literally aware of the situations and you are finding ways of solving it. It might not be that you did solve it, but you are trying. That's what's important. They look at it how you are trying to. You see? And one more key thing after projects. Reality is we all gotta get certified at this point. Yes, you have your shiny certification degree, your shiny diploma, your shiny bootcamp certificate. But even if you're anyone who's working will tell you in the IT space, you gotta always get a new skill, always get certified on something. It's one of the key things I had to learn. I'd had to learn, and I was even told always try to make sure at least in a year you have one certification if you're working or you're trying to get in. Have something that shows. If you're in the tech, in the software development, try to get something within the cloud space, or even it's not cloud, something that relates to it, like your Spring Boot, your ethical hacking certification. Literally, there is a certification called the Certified Ethical Hacker. Never knew that too. Well, the other ones besides the one I've said of CompTIA and Network Plus is that there is one on what is this? Python certification. I like it. Might go for it too. You see, you have to go for certification because they do help. For instance, if you have a certified ethical hack CEH certification, it literally does not just show off how you understand various ways of ethical hacking or networking, but it's kind of key that you are amongst the IT security professional that knows how to do pen testing, and it does boost up you in the job market because remember you're not the only one applying. Or for instance, you have this one. Let's say for instance you have your CompTIA network, your CompTIA A plus, which is a hardware certification. If you have this at some as much as we are moving in the cloud space, we're always going to need someone to fix our laptops in this right now. That way won't ever change, and laptops are constantly being upgraded. Computers are always being upgraded, year in year out. 6 months in, there's a new laptop, there's a new something. So if you are certified in this space, it shows that you understand the hardware components around it, and it also gives you an extra leverage when applying in the space. Okay, okay. Now let's say you're done. You have your network, you have your portfolio of projects, you are certified. What's next? You gotta go up to online platforms. If it's not every day that when you're applying everywhere, it's obvious you're applying. But how is your CV structured? It's very much key and important for you as a developer, engineer, hardware guy, anyone in the tech space to structure it in a way that focuses in that industry. That's something I had to also understand is that my CV and the person in, let's say, teaching or health sector, it's not relatively going to be the same. Okay. Because you have to include your skills there. You have to show off your different skills. You have to make sure within your CV you include your education background, which is obvious, right? Your skills is very much important. If you don't have experience, you could include the things you're doing, like volunteering here and there. And another key thing is that you should always include your projects. And then when I say project, explain it in a way that it shows that you are able to apply those skills of yours. Could say I used my SQL Server to create a data warehouse using the various techniques of ETL processes and advanced analytics. Or you could say did like you should explain your project in a way that it sells you off to the person who's reading it. And you should include your certifications because it's very much important and better. We know if you're certified. Because a person who knows Python and a person who is certified in Python are two different individuals. You know what you learned, it, but I'm certified in Python, meaning I went to the Python exam, wrote it, and passed it. You see? We are not the same. And finally, you have your projects, your network, your resume. You gotta start freelancing some point. Freelancing, or you gotta start putting it out there that you're looking for employment. Or you could start your own. You could start your own thing and say, I'm offering these skills at this specific rate. Those are the key things you gotta do. So let's say if you are doing things like freelancing, you could go to Upwork. It's one of the key things I know. Upwork, they even tell you they showcase your project, show us your resume, upload it, type it down, your skills and everything, and start applying for different job posts as people post them on their site. Or on LinkedIn, contact different talent people and tell them you're out there, you're looking for jobs. Always repost it. The key one thing I love about networking, if someone sees something and they remembers you, they can just tag you there or they just repost it. Now you can apply. But we all know LinkedIn can get tough. Those streets sometimes get tough. You can literally get depressed by being there. The things people post, some will just tell you, I graduated, started a business, I'm owning a fleet of what. You'll be like, yeah, this guy, how are they doing it? That's the reality. It's not going to be easy. To get in the industry, it's not going to be easy. But once you're in, just keep learning and keep pushing. Even if you're not in, just try. These are the few things I wish I've learned when I was in matric or starting out. But I'm giving it off to everyone out there so that they can also learn something new and be willing to share it to the next key individuals out there. So yeah, I hope you got to learn something and please be willing to share to anyone out there. Yeah. And it's your boy T from Tiamo Blend. Peace. Have a good evening, a good day, and a good night. I'm out.